wall-to-wall team coverage from the Weather Network team of a historic snowfall event unfolding for over half the country's population. We are already seeing crippling and paralyzing snowfall amounts. It will only continue. We really wanted to let you in on our eyes and ears and our team coverage as we get developments, folks. You will hear it straight from our field teams out on the streets, on the roads. You will hear from our teams here at our forecast center, the team here with me in the newsroom, getting the impact information, flight cancellations, closures, power outages, in between your breaks, shoveling. Again, for some of the most populated areas of the country, we will be covering the latest developments of this mammoth high impact snow system. We will talk everything, folks, the scope, the forecast for the states, the population and impact here at home, the timing, the drive conditions, the cold, and of course the historic nature of the fact that half of the country's population is now under winter storm or snowfall warning. We are talking about that 401 corridor from Windsor right up to Montreal. This is a mammoth system that will tackle really the entirety of the eastern half of the country. I want to bring in our forecast center. Dylan Kakuta is there now. Now, Dylan, we have been watching some really intense, brutal bands of snow. I want to get a quick look now before we really dive in with our crews in the field of how much snow we are already seeing and where it is impacting right now. Some areas already seeing 25 centimeters of snowfall, and the heaviest snow hasn't even come down yet.
Yeah, it is quite a doozy out there. Let's jump over to the radar where we can see all those blue bands of lake effect snow developing fairly early in those morning hours. You can see some of those darker blues, and maybe I'll grab out the marker, draw in some of those areas where we're seeing some of those heavier bands. Break out the trusty marker across Prince Edward County. There you have some of that lake effect snow off of Lake Ontario and also across the GTA. Now this band across the GTA, it's slowly starting to sink its way south. So that's something that we'll be keeping an eye on as we head into the evening hours, Saf.
Okay, we want to talk about the timing in just a minute, but I really want to hit this home and explain this for folks. Yes, this is a massive system that was barreling in, crippling and paralyzing impacts in the states. It is nudging with the northern edge for us on that snow edge here in parts of southern Ontario into southern Quebec and then into Atlantic Canada from Monday into Tuesday. But let's talk a little bit about this lake enhancement, because this was a double-edged sword. We are not just seeing the impacts of this heavy, moisture-laden, snowy system. We are also going to be seeing this extra reverse lake effect snow band. Dylan, tell us why some areas, including Newmarket, Oshawa, Pickering, Milton, Burlington, Oakville, could really overachieve, dare I say it, folks, but maybe a half a meter of snow. For some of you, we have already seen up to 25 centimeters already in some areas. The heaviest amounts of snow and the highest snowfall rains are still to come, especially that 4 to 10 p.m. stretch today. Let's talk about this lake effect snow band. I really want to hit this home because it's going to meander between that Hamilton to Pickering stretch.
Yeah, we'll start off by just showing you where those heaviest totals are. As you mentioned, some higher totals around the GTA where 20 to 40 centimeters is on the way. And it's because we have this easterly wind off of Lake Ontario. You can see those arrows tracking from east to west. And that's taking all that moisture and dumping it right over the land around the GTA, which is why we've seen that activity through the morning hours. We'll play it out for you actually right now, see how things are shaping up. So you can see that heavier band right pushing through the GTA right around 3 p.m. They're over in that red. Now as the hours go by, you'll notice that the snow might start to lighten up north of the city, but if you're just down in the city core and around the west end of GTA, that's where we still see those heavier snowfall rates continuing. That band just kind of meanders further south as we continue to see easterly flow on the kind of top side of this system. And I think that 6 to 8 p.m. time frame, that's where you really want to watch out, especially through that downtown core of Toronto, extending all the way to areas around Oakville and just north of Hamilton.
Okay, as our teams here in the newsroom, Dylan, thank you, are getting information. I will bring it to you folks. You will be first to hear it from here, us at the Weather Network. DVP down to 1 lane south of Down Mills for plowing. We got the City of Markham canceling all registered instructional programs already. closures and cancellations are already starting to roll in for Monday. City of Toronto cancels all registered programs as well. 1 million customers now without power in the U.S. Let's talk a little bit about the roads. Dylan, I want to go check in with Mark, who is very patiently waiting by. Actually, outside of his vehicle, he was going to demonstrate the roads for us today. Our storm tracker is tackling the roads, folks, so you should not have to. This is an at-home day. Avoid all non-essential travel unless it is absolutely necessary to do so. Mark is going to demonstrate the sheer force of the winds. We've actually asked him to get out of his vehicle. He had not planned on being outside today, but we can see what 60-kilometer-an-hour gusts creating all of that lake effect snow is doing in the lake behind you in Burlington.
Yeah, you can actually see this is a classic spot at Spencer Smith. The waves smash into the seawall right there, and you just get them hammering high into the sky. Now, I had to jump out. Now, the reason I actually had to wait in the car there, because it's so cold, and I'm not wearing my big parka right now because it's actually a little bit dangerous to drive with the parka on, so I had to take it off, make sure that I could jump out just to talk to you a little bit, show you how cold it is out here. But my plan is going to be showing you what the drive conditions are going from here in Burlington to Spencer Smith Park, going up Highway 6 towards Guelph, cross the 401 and back down, either the 407 or the 427. We'll see what happens, just to give you an idea of what you can expect if you're going to be driving out and about tonight, or maybe even into tomorrow morning. But I'm going to jump back in the car before I give myself frostbite.
Later on, we will talk to Mark a little bit about those driving conditions. Many two-lane roads are down to one lane right now, folks. There are snow-covered roadways. You want to be reducing visibility, lengthening your distance between the vehicles in front of you, because visibility will be reduced and already is in many areas near whiteout conditions. I want to talk about the impact now on the biggest population center in the country. Our Victoria Fen Alvarado is in the heart of the 6th at Scotiabank Arena. You will be hard-pressed to find a more historic snowstorm that will impact the city of Toronto. Many remember that historic year, 1999, in the back of our memory zones when the Army was called in. We will maybe give a run for the money of the amount of snowfall that will come after this season because of this event. Victoria, tell us about the scene around you. Lightly traveled streets?
Yeah, if you're traveling across the city, I advise not to travel at all. But if you are, you will notice the streets behind me. They are still snow covered, and that is likely the case across the entire city, as the plows are really trying to keep up with these rapid snowfall rates. And the thing about the city too is that we're seeing the snow piling up on top of the tall buildings. Well, when you get a big gust of wind, what happens? Well, the snow just blows off the building, reducing those visibility on the roadways, but also blowing right into those commuters' faces. Like, I am outside right now enduring the cold, so you don't have to. And I am surprised to see it doesn't look like there's many people on the roadway behind me. Walkers, they're obviously bundled up to the max. They're certainly trying to keep warm, but the Leafs game is going on right now, so I'm assuming many people are inside Scotiabank Arena right now. And when they get out of that arena, it's going to be quite the treacherous travel home. So again, like Sophia, you mentioned, staying off the road, that's probably your best bet today, right?
Yeah, when you think about it, folks, potentially 40 centimeters or more in the heart of the biggest population center in the country is massive. Victoria, before you go, can you describe the cold? Because this is another whole level to this story, folks. This is not only a massive snow event, this is also dangerous cold that will linger far into the long range, keeping all of this snow on the ground. This doesn't feel nice when you're talking about the wind chill and that wind-blown light, fluffy snow.
You can really feel that wind. That is what is the coldest, not just the snow blowing in your face, but that wind chill is really predominant. And considering we've experienced these cold temperatures the past couple of days, it doesn't feel like we've seen any relief. In fact, I actually have a personal story I can share with you real quick. Friday night, went to bed. Saturday morning, woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden my feet were in puddles. Well, what happened? In my condo building, there was a pipe that burst on the 6th floor. I am on the 1st floor, and all the units from the 6th floor down to the 1st got absolutely flooded, including my own. So the cold conditions really taking its toll on this city. I did speak to some restorations crews, and what they said when they were working on my building was the day before, another building, the same thing happened, but 29 floors So the city really feeling these cold conditions, and it's leading to a lot of impacts. Sophia, especially with those pipe bursts and, the slippery roads, just another one.
Yeah, emergency personnel will definitely be on the beck and call over the next little while. Victoria, good luck cleaning up after this system as well. When it comes to that, folks, remember 911 for all emergencies, OPP, dial 677 for police assistance, 511 for a tow truck. We've also talked in the States as well about the tens of thousands with paralyzing ice as well, and the fact that many of those pipes will be frozen for quite a while. Victoria will check back in with you in just a minute. Mark will be back in the car in a minute. I want to bring up Dylan in just a second, though, not only to talk about the timing, but also the cold. And before we do that, folks, we also have been keeping an eye on webcams across the region. We are looking at whiteout drives. There have been already over 100 collisions just in the past 24 hours. You're looking at the 401 in Keele. Yes, the roads are lightly traveled. Yes, folks are keeping their distance. They are moving slow. They have got the memo to stay home. But do you see all of the snow covered roadways? This is dangerous driving conditions, treacherous. Dylan, let's talk about the timing, and I also want to get into the cold. But first, the peak snow, folks, has not come down yet. Let's talk about those timings of intensity, snowfall rates, 3 to 5 centimeters an hour. Like, this is brutal. Not only the bands of snow, but also the snow synoptic system that is coming in. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, when you mentioned those 3 to 5 centimeter an hour rates, especially when you hit that 5 centimeter an hour mark, that's when you start to see, especially around the cities, those roads really get slowed down as cars start to struggle going up those hills. And I just want to show you right now when we think the peak intensity for the snowfall around Toronto occurs. Probably around that 6 to 8, maybe even pushing that 9 p.m. time frame is when that lake effect snow band is really giving quite a good dumping across the city, some heavy snowfall and also some gusty wind. We'll take a look right now as well where all this snow is going on at the moment, so you can see pretty much all of southern Ontario, all the way from Essex County east into Ottawa. You're seeing that synoptic snow, but there are those couple areas that also see that lake effect snow right around the Toronto area. You can see some of those darker blues with that easterly flow off the water. And then also as we jump further east into Prince Edward County, there's another area where we're seeing a bit of a stronger band. We may even see that band push north of the 401 corridor, so areas north of Belleville. You might see that snow intensity actually pick up over the next little while. Now let's jump over to the forecast around the Golden Horseshoe. So you can see that darker blue band sitting around the Toronto area around 4 p.m. So those of you leaving that game, it might be a dicey one around the downtown core. Some heavier blues working their way into the area you can see over there. But then as the hours go by, especially as we head after, maybe as we push closer to 8 p.m., we start to see that lake effect snow band meandering further south. You'll see those darker blues starting to push closer to Oakville and even towards Hamilton. And this occurs as that snow to the west and east, you can see, starts to disappear across, say, York region and also Listowel, Fergus. You don't have to worry about it anymore. By 9 p.m., it's mostly located right around that Golden Horseshoe. And as we push closer to midnight, that band still sticking around there. So if you are around Toronto, Oakville, Hamilton, be prepared. It's going to be a snowy one right through the overnight.
Okay, Dylan's going to pull up some wind graphics. I want to talk about that in just a minute. But do you want to know a great way to really frame this state of mind, folks? This is like a reverse lake effect snow event. We are seeing the amount of snow you would get in the snow belts from lake effect snow and plus a system snow, but we're seeing it reverse. We're seeing it on the southern end of the Great Lakes Basin, on the shores of Lake Ontario. So treat this as a lake effect snow event. Not only will you have the falling snow, heavy at times, 3 to 5 centimeters an hour, but folks, you've also got drifting snow and blowing snow with winds that are really picking it up. It is cold enough in the upper levels of the atmosphere for this to be that very light, fluffy, easy to blow snow. Let's talk about the winds, because they don't ease into the overnight. This will continue blowing around. Even if you think, okay, yeah, Dylan told me the peak times of this snowfall is going to be, ending around 10, 11. I can head out after the midnight hour. No, folks, this snow is also still going to be blowing and drifting then. Correct, Dylan?
Yeah, that's right. We can see those wind gusts still pushing maybe 40, maybe even locally 50 kilometers an hour, especially along those lake shores as we head toward midnight. So this fresh snow, until we see that sun come up the following day and really put a bit of a layer on top of all this fresh fallen snow, it's still going to be readily blown around by any of those wind gusts pushing that 40-50 km/h mark.
Yeah, and then we have days and days of cleanup and fallout. Victoria or Mark, who do we want to talk to next? I want to talk a little bit about the human impact of this. Check on your elderly neighbors, folks. Many will be without power potentially. We are talking about days of ice and snow cleanup as this snow continues to freeze and very crunchy. We are talking about flight delays, over 562 cancellations, over 117 delays. That's at Pearson. Also cancellations and delays into parts of Quebec at Billy Bishop Airport. Victoria, let's talk a little bit more about this human impact story. This is going to be days of cleanup, days of shoveling. Many of the municipalities have been at the ready, but we haven't even seen half of this fallout yet.
Yeah, I actually spoke with someone earlier. I'm not sure if we have the clip that maybe we can play during the live stream, but I did speak to someone who said their flight to Edmonton got canceled today, and it got canceled until Tuesday. So they're not even letting people fly out tomorrow due to the impact and the intense amount of snow we're getting for this system. Now, that person I did ask, well, what's a storm compared to Edmonton? What's this compared to? He said this one is child's play compared to Edmonton, but for us in Toronto, this is a very impactful storm. I have seen many cars slipping and sliding behind me. In fact, my camera operator driving here today saw a very scary crash that shook him up a little bit, and I'm so glad that Dave was able to make it here with us safely, but that is not the case for many people who are traveling out on those 400 series highways, the Gardiner, for example, as well. So if you can stay... Sophia, you were talking a little bit about the type of snow. Yes, it is so cold outside that this snow is falling in a powder. It is very blowing. It's very capable of blowing. Here, I'll give you an example. If I pick up a big pile here and you throw it in the air, you'll notice it just absolutely flies right back into my face or flies wherever the wind is going. Well, that just goes to show how quick your visibility can be reduced out on the roadways because of all of that blowing snow. So yeah, light fluffy snow does not make for good travel conditions, Sophia.
Like pixie dust. Doesn't feel all sunshine and rainbows out there though, does it? And it doesn't feel like sunshine and rainbows either if you're out shoveling. This is the type of event where, Vic, thank you, we'll check back in with you in just a second, where if you're shoveling, you come back out 5 minutes later and it looks like you haven't even done anything. Let's look at some updated snowfall reports as of current time, as of 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Milton, 25 centimeters. Brampton already picking up 12 centimeters of snow, 5 in Woodbridge, 9 in North York, 12 in Toronto. That DVP is getting hit very hard. As you can see, that snow continuing to push in and continuing to nudge further to the east. The snow-covered roadways, this is going to be very hard and difficult for plows to really get ahead of this system. Many will be grappling at straws into the overnight and pre-dawn hours. Do we have Mark up, or Dylan, can we talk a little bit about the scope of this? If Mark is not up in the drive cam yet, I want to talk a little bit about the scope of this, because forecasters had seen this system coming days in, days out, but it continues to overachieve. Even the model agreements in just the past hour or two is seeing even higher snowfall rates than we thought in the past 12 to 24 hours. We were thinking 2 to 4 centimeters an hour at some of those peak intensity times. We are now looking at 3 to 5 centimeters an hour, which is why places like Milton have already seen 25 centimeters of snowfall.
Yeah, that's some of the challenges when you're dealing with lake effect, because these bands, they're so narrow, maybe just a few kilometers wide across, and that means just a small nudge one way or another completely changes the outcome, and especially when you're dealing with super fluffy snow, those gradients between the north end and the south end can be quite dramatic. As we're seeing over on these snowfall maps through the downtown, that's where that 20 to 40 centimeters is expected, and much less as you head further north.
Okay, Dylan, thanks. We have some questions that have just come in from some of our viewers tuning in. Folks, if you are just tuning in, you are watching live stream coverage from our team here at the Weather Network. Dylan, I want to keep you up here. We have some questions from some of our viewers that I think they want to ask you. But if you are just tuning in, folks, all of our teams, wall-to-wall coverage, we have boots on the ground. Our teams in the newsroom are feeding me the live information that I will then bring to you first. We have our forecast center teams as well looking at all the radars and all the model data. When will the snow eventually end is the top question. That is the question we all want to know. And even when it does end, I will preface this, there will still be blowing snow. So Dylan, when does the snow eventually end is our first question here.
All right, well, we'll take just a overview of southern Ontario first, so you can see as we head through the evening hours, that's when we start to see some clearing appearing through southwestern Ontario and also on the east shores of Lake Huron. Over there circled in red, you can see it beginning to clear by around 8 p.m. That's for Windsor, Sarnia, Goderich, Kincardine. And then as we head further into the night, around 10 p.m., most areas north of the GTA, that's when you start to see some clearing across York Region, Simcoe County, and even across southwestern Ontario, north of Long Point over there. And then across the Niagara Peninsula, you'll gradually see some clearing, but areas around the GTA, that's where you're stuck with that lake effect snow. Even as that synoptic snow begins to disappear, that lake effect snow band still lingering around there. Then by around 1 a.m., most areas are in the clear. Maybe some lingering flurries across far eastern Ontario, but you'll notice that lake effect snow band doesn't want to quit, still rolling in for areas on that west end of Lake Ontario. And I saw another question asking about London specifically. I'll zoom in on you over here so you can see through the evening hours, we could see another heavier band pushing into London, maybe right around 6 to 8 p.m. That's when snowfall rates may be approaching 2 centimeters an hour, but then shortly after that, we will see that snow begin to taper off already by 9 p.m. You should be dealing with the last snowflakes around your area.
Okay, a lot of questions as well on highway conditions. We're actually going to take you to Mark in just a couple minutes as well. Dylan, a couple quick questions still for you. How much snow has fallen in Toronto? Can you give us a quick rundown for some of the viewers just tuning in on the most recent snowfall amounts? And I preface this, folks, by saying the heaviest snow hasn't even come down yet. So you've already got 25 centimeters in some places like in Milton, that 12 centimeters downtown. We are watching highway closures as well. Highway 401 westbound, let's take this full, thank you, is fully closed from Bloomfield Road to Queens Line near Chatham. We are seeing many collisions coming in. OPP reporting upwards of 100 collisions in the last 24 hours. Dylan, if you want to quickly give us the most updated snowfall totals, and then I want to take you right to the live drive to Mark. Who wants to know this, folks? Will we have a snow day on Monday? This is our top question. It is highly likely that you will want to have a plan B in place in many areas as the infrastructure and municipalities will be struggling to take care of the amount of blowing snow that will continue to drift and build up. Dylan, you want to tell us how much we already are seeing? A little bit more even in the last few minutes.
All right, here are the numbers as of 2 p.m. You'll notice that bullseye right around the GTA. Milton hitting 25 centimeters. Toronto at the airport, you're looking at around 12 centimeters. But of course, because there's so much wind and this snow is light and fluffy, it blows around sometimes, these totals can be a little bit higher than what the actual amount is or a little bit lower. London, you're around 9 centimeters, and Trenton, over on the east side of Lake Ontario, sitting at about 5 centimeters as of 2 p.m.
Okay, here are some words we all want to get to be a part of our vocabulary right now. Wrap around snow until Monday, multi-day cleanup, blowing snow, drifting snow, and intense and dangerous wind chill values. Okay, we want to go see Mark, we want to go see Victoria. Who do we have up? Because I really want to talk about the road conditions as well. A lot of these questions are about some of these danger zones. Do you have a weekend event? Can you cancel it, folks? If you can, I would highly suggest that. Toronto reported 6 centimeters just in the last hour. That just in from our newsroom teams here because of these winds from the east. So we're looking at about 15 centimeters in total as of right now for the city of Toronto at Pearson, and even more coming, folks. It would not be out of the question for Toronto to have 40 centimeters of snow or more. It would not be out of the question for some areas in southern Ontario and some of the most highly populated regions in the country to have a half a meter of snow, potentially 50 centimeters when things are all said and done. Dylan, our folks at home want to talk about how normal these winds are for the east, but I think Victoria is standing by. She is feeling these winds from the east. Vic, do you want to take it away?
Yes, for sure. Actually, if you look behind me, it is incredible. You wouldn't think about it, but that is the CN Tower. You cannot see it because of how dark the city is due to all of the blowing snow overhead. It is very hard to see in the distance, let alone to see a car or 2 car lengths ahead of you. If you are out on the roadways, it is not the, I should preface this by saying you should probably not head out, but if you do need to, you will notice that the blowing snow is going to be a main factor. Also, here in Toronto, the roads are not really plowed much. You can't see the lanes on the roadways. There's also plenty of snow, which we've seen plenty of cars slipping, sliding, even getting stuck. So if you are outside, you will want to wear the appropriate gear. I'm outside, so you don't have to. I'm wearing about 10 layers. You wouldn't see it. I am basically the Michelin Man right now. But it is extremely chilly out here, so I'm doing the best I can to try to stay warm in these conditions. Sophia, I've been trying to talk to some people on the street, but I must say I'm surprised with how few people there are for being the downtown core. But also, I think, Saf, they really don't want to talk to me.
Oh, we lost Vic for a minute. We do want to talk to you, though, Vic. We'll come back to Victoria in just a minute. Our Victoria fan Alvarado is out in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. We have Mark Robinson doing a live drive for us, which we'll check back in with in just a minute. We have Dylan Kakuda at the Forecast Center. Our teams are buzzing here. I am being fed live updates for you. We have 16 centimeters, 18 now. It's changing by the minute, reported at Toronto Pearson. Milton, 25 and counting. Folks, we haven't really even got into the thick of it. A lot of folks asking, could we hit blizzard criteria? Did we say Mark is back? Because I want to talk about highway conditions in a minute. Let's talk about this for a minute. It might not meet official blizzard criteria. Victoria's back. Let's talk to her. Because of the winds just being slightly less than blizzard criteria, that does not mean that this is not going to look and fall like a blizzard. We need to go and talk to Victoria, folks. She is going to demonstrate or tell us about what just happened off camera. I saw it. You did not. It is slippery, is it not, Vic? If you should have seen the graceful fall that our Victoria fan Alvarado did almost on camera. It's too bad. We almost got it on. And folks, leave it to the professionals. Do not go out. Victoria is demonstrating how treacherous even the sidewalks are.
I tried so hard to be graceful there. Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't catch that on camera because yes, I gracefully just slipped and fell. And that is likely the case for many people who are trying to navigate across the streets of the city of Toronto. You can see the sidewalks here, not plowed either. I mentioned the road conditions, but if we take a look at these sidewalks, they are extremely snow covered. You'll notice that the streets are also getting lined with those snow banks as well. So as cars continue to try to navigate through the streets, they are getting challenged with the amount of snow. Now, it is best to let the crews try to clean up and try to keep up with these snowfall rates. Surprisingly, I thought that I would see a lot more plows out at this time, but I think the snowfall rate is just so rapid that no matter what they clear off, the snow comes blowing right back on the road and it just piles right back
and
up.
Also,
right?
It's coming on so quick that salters can't even really get out quick enough to really get an upper edge and get that salt on the lowest level of the pavement for it to do its job. It is not just tricky to be a pedestrian right now, as Victoria almost demonstrated for us. It's also tricky to be driving. We talked about some of the highway closures. It's tricky to be an airline traveler right now. We have talked about the over 500 cancellations already. We've talked about the timing. Now, Vic, you are going to be out through the thick of this. Have you already seen a difference in the amount of snow or the texture just by the camera? I'm seeing some fluffier flakes, those heavier snowfall rates potentially.
It feels like the snow has not stopped. Even since I woke up this morning, it immediately started snowing and it really has not let up. We haven't seen any sort of almost relief from the amount of snow we've been seeing. It's falling quite fast. You can see the snow drifts on the ground. They are getting quite big as well, especially because we were talking a lot about that blowing snow, right? So you'll get a big gust of wind and it'll blow the snow all in one direction. So it is a little bit tricky for me to tell how much snow we've actually got on the ground here due to the amount that it is blowing. But if you are walking outside, those snow boots are going to be key. I've seen some people in running shoes and this is just not a smart idea. I just don't see how that's safe. I already fell and I'm wearing heavy duty boots myself.
You would be hard pressed to find a bigger, more magnitude, higher impact snowstorm to come to the city of Toronto. We are ill prepared as opposed to the hardy folk you were talking to in places like Edmonton. Vic, I want you to demonstrate that snow blowing in the wind again. Folks, if you were just joining in with us, Vic is going to show us how light and fluffy this snow is, that it is getting whipped around by all this wind. Oh, you can hear it too. Getting whipped around by all of this wind. Snow drifts is the name of the game while Victoria makes some wind snow angels there for us. Okay, let's go over to Mark. Vic, thank you. Get
I got
warm.
Dave all snowy.
Sorry to cameraman Dave Hodge there, folks. Okay, folks, to Mark. Out on the roadways, leave this job to our storm hunter folks so you do not have to head out on the roadways. Can we demonstrate to you why there are so many closures, why there are over 100 collisions reported just in the last 24 hours as this snow continues to come down at a really fast clip, even with that safe driving distance. Look at that blowing snow in behind. Mark, can we hear you as well?
Yes, hopefully you can hear me here. I'm headed up Highway 6 at the moment, just past Waterdown. Hi, Leanna. That's our producer that's sitting in Waterdown right now. And just heading up Highway 6. And the big difference between where we started down in Burlington at Spencer Smith and sort of up top of the escarpment here is just the sheer amount of snow that's falling. It's not full whiteout conditions, but it's creeping towards that. I'm just off on the side on sort of the right lane, going a little bit slower, but you can see people sort of passing by me on the, basically, that road looks open. The tires have been going down there, keeping that, a little bit bare pavement. But I can tell you, I have been on that bare pavement, and because of how cold it actually is, it's quite slippery. So there's that snow, it's not melting. It's turning into a little bit of ice, which makes it quite slippery, even if it does look open. So, watch your speed, keep it, just want to take it easy. We have seen collisions. I've seen at least one flipped car in the ditch along this highway earlier today. So we have definitely seen some transportation problems that one earlier was without the amount of snow that we're seeing falling now. But you can see this one left lane. Oh, there we go. We're coming up to the stoplights here. And boy, I can tell you, it is hard to see that. Usually I can see quite a distance because I know this road fairly well. And yeah, I'm keeping as much distance between myself and the car in front of me, because one thing I gotta say is, remember, just because you have a four-wheel drive truck does not mean you slow that you can stop faster. That's not how that works. You're still going to take a lot of time to slow down, especially when we're talking about how icy and snowy these conditions are.
Many areas, folks, with visibility less than 400 meters. You can see it there with Mark. Mark, I want to talk a little bit about the lanes for a minute. You were on a 2-lane road. It has now been brought down to 1 lane. What are you experiencing also on the overpasses, on the exit ramps? Things are very, very, very difficult with that snow accumulating so fast, and you couple that with that visibility you just told us about.
Yeah, I mean, you add those two things in. I mean, the big thing with the exit ramps is that the plows have come by, and you get that plow row or that wind row that sits on the exit, and quite often people will hit those, and they'll hit them sort of sideways and get stuck really quick and really easy. So far, so good. I haven't hit anything like that. There was a little bit of a lump, a hump just before we got on to Highway 6 here. But other than that, it's been okay. But I think people are they're hustling maybe a little too fast on right now at this point. Some people doing okay, but other people definitely are in a hurry to either get home or get somewhere. And I'm just going to say, you're not going to get home faster if you're in the ditch.
No, folks. And I also want to say that I think people are trying to get ahead of this system. You are not going to over the next 4 to 6 hours. And then even then you have the blowing and drifting snow. You want to wait this one out and not head on the roadways. I also think, Mark, part of this is the fact that it was not a gentle slide into winter, right? We feel seasoned now. We feel like we can handle this. But this one is a totally different beast when you factor in the cold, the wind, and the snowfall rate. Mark, folks, stay with me, Mark. Mark is in this band of snow west end of the GTA, especially through Oakville, Burlington, up that Highway 6 stretch. That is a brutal band of snow, gusts anywhere from 50 kilometers an hour or more. Peak rates of snowfall now 5 to 8 centimeters an hour. This thing just continues to overachieve. We've got Victoria Fenn Alvarado. Let's have a chat, the three of us, folks. Some areas, I want to get your reaction on this, could exceed, latest statement from Environment and Climate Change Canada, could exceed over 50 centimeters of snowfall. And you guys are in the midst of this. We've talked about how historic this is. 50 centimeters of snowfall for some of the most highly populated regions of the country. Tell me what you both think about that. Vic and Mark, we can all chat here.
Yeah, I mean, 50 centimeters of snow doesn't entirely surprise me, given the strength of that band that was coming off the lake. The lake is open. It's totally open right now, and it's warm enough that like the water's warm enough to give us some serious lake enhancement. And I can tell you, driving through this, you can tell when that squall is hitting you and when it's not. Vic, I think you're probably in the middle of that band right now, aren't you?
I am, and that's just the geography of Toronto. Sometimes we are protected by the lake. Other times, like today, the lake is acting as a snow machine. Just a few kilometers south of me is Lake Ontario, wide open water, right? Well, that's just creating all of that, the strength for this snow. It's creating all of that lake effect snow, which we're starting to see here. We have been seeing it all day, but this is a different beast here in the city of Toronto. 50 centimeters for me in my lifetime, not very often that I've seen anything of this amount of snow. 10, 20 centimeters here and there, but 50, that's a little bit aggressive, Saf.
I hang my hat on the fact that this is a historic snow event unfolding. We are in the midst of it right now. I want to get both of you to weigh in on this. We have talked about the historic magnitude and the scope of this system when it comes to the impact stateside. But this is impacting upwards of half of our country's population here at home in such an intense and treacherous way. The only saving grace here, folks, is that this is a Sunday and you don't have the amount of mass commuters on the roadways. But let's talk about the scope of this and this historic magnitude. Like, this is going to stop some of the most populated areas of the country for potentially a day or two.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, when I looked at the whole thing, I mean, you've got to add sort of what's happening down in the States. I mean, you've got tornado potential down in Florida all the way to up here where we're at, minus 10, minus 15. These are cold temperatures up here with this system as it's going through. I think we got lucky in some ways that we didn't get the center of the mass snow event that's happening a little further down in the States. Some of the models, though, were like trending north to hit us with that kind of snow. One thing that sort of blows me away with this is that we're getting sideswiped by this. We are not getting hit directly by this one, like the worst of it. And yet, look down the road. I don't know if you can see me right now, but I can count literally 2 cars. And normally on Highway 6, this is packed with cars. Even on a Sunday, it's busy. But there's 2 cars. So actually that, I think, is really, really good. Everyone, means a lot of people have stayed off the road because, yeah, this is going to potentially be quite crippling for us if we get up to that 50 centimeters of snow in and around the GTA itself.
And obviously we're focusing right now on the thick of what's coming down in southern Ontario because we are in the midst of some of the heaviest peak snowfall rates, updated now to 5+ centimeters an hour in some places. But this is a different beast in every region, right? This is a bona fide snowstorm in southern Quebec for Montreal as well. This is a bona fide snowstorm with nor'easter potential as multiple low pressure systems merge in Atlantic Canada. And in Newfoundland, this really lingers and this sticks around till Tuesday. The fallout of this is intense. Look at this, Shepherd on the 401. Count how many seconds we do not see a car, 404 rather at Shepherd. You might not see it because it's lightly traveled roadways with all of that snow or because there is such reduced visibility. Look at that car actually stopping. Unsure if it's because of the conditions, the slippery roadways, or just because it is really difficult to see where you are going, not only as a pedestrian, but on the roads. Folks, we're gonna check back in with Mark and Vic in just a minute. Dylan, if you're on standby, I really wanna talk a little bit about the scope when we're talking bigger picture when we bring in what's happening in the States. Mark mentioned it there. If you are just tuning in, this is live stream coverage here from the Weather Network. All of our teams are bringing you the type of conversation that we have here in our newsroom. We want to let you have it first along with us. Dylan Kakuda is looking over all of the radar and model data in the forecast center. We had our teams you just saw a minute ago on the ground experiencing this from the roads and boots on the ground. But tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Americans have been experiencing this system that is just nudging north to us firsthand in the States. This is a major snowstorm. New England, Boston, Pittsburgh. This was a bona fide ice storm that is slightly easing Louisiana all the way up to Mississippi. Can you spell out all the dynamics? It's everything in the kitchen sink stateside.
Boy, there is a whole lot going on. Quite the snowstorm for the Northeast. sure if you had any plans to go to Vermont to hit the ski hills, you are going to enjoy some fresh powder over there. And those of you along the I-95 corridor, it's going to be a slow one, but this is going to be one of the better winter storms you get. Lots of snow with this. In fact, let's take a look at the alerts across the U.S. You can see extreme cold warnings across Texas, Oklahoma, even the north end of Louisiana, and then winter storm warnings extending from the Ozarks all the way to the northeast across the Appalachians. So it's got it all. And then also we have some severe weather down across the Florida Panhandle, Alabama, Georgia. Take a look at this. This is the severe thunderstorm outlook from the states. You can see when you get a slight, that's a level 2 out of 5 on their severe weather scale. Areas in yellow across southeastern Alabama, Tallahassee, and also southwestern Georgia. There's the radar. You can see a line of storms going through the area. Those red boxes, severe thunderstorm warnings. Those purple boxes, those are some tornado warnings, some embedded areas of rotation spinning up on the line. So this storm really has it all thanks to this really clash of air masses, that cold Arctic air dumping in from the north, combining with that Gulf moisture, and that's how you make magic happen across this area.
Yeah, I want to do a little teachable moment here, folks. If you're just tuning in, live stream coverage, yes, Dylan Kakuda in the Forecast Center just said that this system also includes the potential of tornadoes. We are talking about snow, ice storm potential. Let's do some education here, Dylan. The why, right? You know the polar vortex has been back in our vocabulary for the past week or so. It is this massive trough of cool polar air that normally resides north above the Arctic Circle. It gets weakened with a wavier jet stream and breaks off. It is why the core of the cold has been really centered over parts of eastern Canada. It is fueling with some Gulf moisture this high impact generational storm event. You know what that means? It means that it's the kind of storm you only see once in a generation. Let's do some teaching here about why this has become so impactful with all the dynamics just being checked off in place.
And when we see that Arctic air departing from the Arctic, as that polar vortex weakens, it spills further south, and that starts to clash with the warm air over the Gulf. And when that happens, those winds high up in the atmosphere, as they start to scream, that jet stream, that helps to really get things going. We get those storms bubbling up over the southern plains, and then it shoots off to the northeast, and it really puts on quite the show, those temperature gradients and those winds aloft helping to keep this thing chugging along.
And the key, folks, here is that because that polar air is so far south, this storm track, that normally is a storm track that we would be in the crosshairs of with the question of mixing or snow. No, it's far to the south, so it's bringing the ice and the snow to areas that are not well equipped to take care of that type of infrastructure. We're talking about frozen pipes to areas that have a tropical climate, tons of snow to areas that aren't used to it all of the time. And now, as that story is easing, the real heavy impacts of this system is trudging north to us. So let's get you a quick update because it's been a few minutes since we've given you some recent snowfall amounts, 25 centimeters and counting for some places in Milton, Georgetown area, Pearson Airport, 18. We are talking about 5 centimeters an hour. Let's do some math. We could have 5 centimeters an hour for multiple hours. Do you know what that means for the roadways, folks? Already 24 centimeters downtown Toronto. I want to show a little bit around Bloor here.
Because I didn't
Whereabouts
get
on Bloor there?
thunderstorms.
The collision, we also have been seeing some collisions coming in, folks. 100 collisions in the past 24 hours. I want to get just a recent update on where exactly this webcam it is. It around Bloor on the 401? Is that correct to my teams? South of Bloor, around the 427. We are actually watching a car in the ditch, Highway 427. Multiple collisions. We've also heard of one collision involving a plow and a tractor trailer at 403 and Mississauga Road eastbound. No injuries reported as of yet. You want to make sure to reiterate these safety messages. I'll go to Mark with that in just a minute as well after we're done talking to Dylan here. But you need to leave a ton of room to let the plows and the salters get out there and do what they need to do to keep everybody safe and to set us up for success for Monday and Tuesday, as the cleanup and the impacts of this will be long lasting. Dylan, I want to talk a little bit about the timing and some of the other areas that are going to see snowfall. Eastern Ontario, you will be in the crosshairs Monday morning, southern Quebec, and then really that hot high impact timing for the GTA.
Yeah, I'll start off with the radar right now. I'll just quickly show you what areas are seeing some of those heavier bands at the moment. We can see across the GTA, especially south of the 407 extending west to the 427. That's kind of where the sweet spot is for that band. Then we also have some heavier snow, just general synoptic snow pushing across the east end of the Niagara Peninsula. We have another band, a little bit stronger snow developing right around Barrie area, extending westward, and then also another lake effect band pushing across Prince Edward County over that south end. So that's where things are going on right now. Then jumping over to Eastern Ontario, we'll give you a sneak peek at how things play out for the remainder of today. You can see that snow pushing in. It's going to remain on the lighter side. You don't see all that moisture going in until the overnight hours, so late evening around 8-9 p.m. That's when we start to see those heavier bands of snow pushing, and still just talking about generally 2 centimeters an hour. There is one area I want to point out to you. It's right around Peterborough to Brockville. That's where we could see maybe some heavier snow develops at some point this evening, 6 to 8 p.m. And then that should continue until it fizzles out as we approach that midnight time frame. But you'll notice as we play this out, that snow sticking around the Ottawa area until after midnight, even around Cornwall and Russell, but most areas starting to clear out. And one area I want to just talk about before we hop back to SAF is around Stony Creek. There's one question about Stony Creek. How's it going to play out this evening? Let's jump over to you right now. So you'll notice that for the time being, the heaviest band of snow is to your north. Right around 6 p.m., we could see that snow pick up once again, maybe around 2 centimeters an hour. Then we actually see that snow start to back off right around, say, 8-9 p.m. as that synoptic snow pushes to the east. But don't let your guard down. That lake effect snow band will probably shift further south as we head around midnight or just after midnight. It's going to quickly breeze by you, but those winds still quite gusty. So as you mentioned, it's going to have that threat for blowing snow throughout the evening hours.
Yeah, Dylan, stay with me. I want to keep talking to you for a minute. Stony Creek, you often see the impacts when we have this east wind, which is really creating this extra oomph right now. Folks, if you're just tuning in, live stream coverage, you are not just getting the nitty gritty and the headlines right now. You are getting our full team coverage. We are looking at all the layers of the onion when it comes to this mammoth system. And you're also getting the type of conversations that we would have here in our newsroom as we develop our coverage for this type of significant historic snowstorm event. I'm going to show you the 401 in Winston Churchill, and Dylan, I really want to ask you a question. Look at this though. Reduced visibility, plows at the ready, lightly traveled roadways. That's what we want. That's what we want to see as they are very snow covered. But here's just an opinion question for you. This system continues to overachieve, even as we were talking over the last hour, higher snowfall rates than even anticipated. Historic nature, the potential of some areas in the GTA that could see upwards of 0.5 meter of snow out of this system. Why do you think, Dylan, that this system continues to push the boundaries? Models are even more aggressive than we thought over the past 12 hours even, 5 to 6 centimeters an hour possible. Why do you think this system continues to just push the boundaries?
I think it's just because models tend to struggle with these lake effect snow events. These bands, they're so narrow, they really don't get picked up too well. And also when we have these cold temperatures, you get this really fluffy snow that builds up quite nicely. And sometimes those forecast models, they might struggle a bit with these types of scenarios. So we've seen this uptrend over the recent few hours as we get a bit more clarity on how things are going to play out across the region. So it's all about scale. These lake effect snow bands, they're small scale events. Typically with these big systems, you don't have to worry about them across Toronto, but because we have this easterly wind, it's adding the extra layer of complexity.
Yeah, what was my unofficial coining of term a minute ago? It's like a reverse lake effect snow belt event where we're seeing lake effect type snow along with this system snow. If you're just tuning in, folks, yes, this is that massive system that pummeled a huge 2/3 of the U.S. and we are seeing the northern snowy edge of it, but we are also getting extra lake enhancement with these intense squalls, adding an extra oomph for some of those areas Dylan just talked about. Do you want to talk about being in some of these squalls? Should we bring in our Mark Robinson right now? I really want to talk about driving safety. If you absolutely need to get on the roadways, our Storm Hunter is the one we need to talk to. Mark, what are your tips for tackling this treacherous drive?
One of my biggest tips, look where you want to go. I know that sounds a bit strange, but I did the winter driving school, and the one thing that my teacher said was keep your eye on where you want to go. If you start looking at the side, if you look down at the road right in front of you, you're going to tend to drive in that direction. So you look where you want to go. And the other thing, don't do things quickly. So if you catch an edge, if you catch the edge of, and you know, if you're on the 401 like I'm right now, they often have those rumble strips that sort of make your tires buzz. And sometimes that can cause people to panic and oh, I gotta get away from that. Don't worry about it. Just, if you hear it, just hold on for a sec, let it buzz away, and then ease yourself back onto the road. So you don't want to do really fast things. You don't want to accelerate quick, you don't want to try and brake quickly, and you don't want to turn quickly. All of it needs to be smooth and easy. That's the most important thing. One of the other things I also like to say is that sometimes you can do the best job ever and you still end up in the ditch. You end up stuck somewhere. These things can happen. So if you are driving out and around today, I'm going to suggest you have extra jacket, extra boots, some food like some chocolate bar or something like that, some high energy food, a charged cell phone, if you've got your phone charger for the car, make sure that's in there. And you're going to have to be patient. If you do end up in the ditch, keep in mind that you're not the only one. There's going to be a lot of other people there, so you're going to have to be patient, which is why I say bring all that extra stuff. Oh yes, I almost forgot, a little bit of water is always useful. So and these are the kind of things that if you have it in your car, it goes from, you go from, if you didn't have any of that stuff, emergency type situation to an annoying situation. You're going to be safe, you're going to be fine, but you're just going to have to wait. So that's why I say make sure you've got all your emergency kits in your car, because if you look out the front of the car right now, this is the 401 as I'm coming towards Campbellville. So I'm just on the eastbound 401 coming towards Campbellville, and you can see that center lane is mostly clear, but if you look on the left and the right, those lanes, not as clear. And you can also see that the cleared area, I'm kind of driving down the little dotted lines when you go around those corners. So that's something you just have to be aware of, that some people, if they're trying to pass you, might not realize that they're in your lane. Just be aware and just be safe and try to get to where you're going. If it takes you a little longer, it takes you a little longer.
There's also a confidence that comes in driving in this kind of snow event, Mark, that we just don't get exposure to enough of in the GTA. Can you talk to a little bit of this triple whammy I've been mentioning? Not only is it the heavy falling snow, but it's also the blowing and drifting snow, that east wind at 60 kilometers an hour, plus that heavy snowfall, right, which Dylan was just updating here, upwards of 5 to even 6 or 7 centimeters an hour potentially. Can you talk about that triple whammy? Winds, blowing snow, drifting snow.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of these events. This is not the first time I've been through these. And one of the big scary ones is when you get the howling winds, especially if you're outside of the city. If you're driving north and south on some of those rural roads, you'll find all the snow that's piled up on the fields can then get blown off the field and right across the road. And you'll often see little drifts starting to build up. Visibility can get really, really bad, and it can hit really, really quickly. You'll go from very clear to I can't see the end of my hood within seconds. And that's one thing you just have to be aware of, and just take it easy. You don't see it as often in the city, but it can happen. I think we've got plows coming up on our left and a truck, an 18-wheeler coming on my right. He is moving, but you can see there. The other thing was when you see those plows, don't try to pass them. That it is illegal to pass, it's dangerous to pass. Let them clear the road in front of you. Yes, it's gonna take longer. You're just gonna have to kind of deal with that.
And lanes looking heavier on the other side around you. We're going to have darkness to contend with too if you're heading onto the roadways, folks. That's going to add an extra layer, a quadruple whammy here. Mark, we'll let you keep driving there for a bit. We'll come back and check in with you in a minute. We are getting updates by the minute here of cancellations, closures, delays, collisions. I'm going to give you a quick update, then we're going to go talk more about the human impact of all of this with our Victoria Fenn Alvarado, who is experiencing it. Vic, as of just a couple minutes ago, U of T has canceled a bunch of school recreational programs, all of Sunday afternoon instructional programs, outdoor skating lessons, museums closed, libraries closed. We'll come back to Vic in just a minute. Over 100 collisions reported just in the last 24 hours. That number is climbing. We are talking about really high snowfall rates, over 500 cancellations at Pearson Airport, over 100 delays. The list goes on. Vic, what are you hearing out there? What are people saying as they pass by you? This has been a conversation topic for really the last week, because we saw this one coming. The amount of messages you and I got from friends and family going, oh wow, this is gonna be a doozy. It even is on top of that.
Oh, indeed. People are walking by yelling, "Stay warm" to me. So
Thank you.
I'm trying to do my best out here, and I'm trying to stay warm out here as people are advising me. But I'm the one who's here giving you the advice so that you don't have to go outside. Because let me tell you, I'm starting to get a little shivery. I'm getting the shivers. It's certainly getting chilly, especially because I've been out here for quite an extended period of time, which I don't recommend you do. If you can stay inside and stay warm, it is your best bet. But I must say, the Leafs, they are not having a good game. They're losing, and they are about to finish the game. So I can only imagine that we're about to see a mass amount of people exiting the stadium. But Sophia, the beauty of the city of Toronto is that we have an underground path. Well, Union Station can be found in there inside Scotiabank. You'll find Scotiabank Arena, you'll find Union Station, but you'll also find an underground path that takes you essentially to those subway stations, to the GO train, and that's likely the better option if you are needing to commute home from the Leafs game or home from anywhere. In fact, staying off the road will be key, but I'm curious to see what some of these fans have to say when they come out, because I'm going to see how they plan on getting home, but I can only hope that a lot of people have some sort of TTC route or some sort of train route to get to, so that we can avoid those people out on the highways as well.
100%. Did you hear what she said? She's out there covering this for us, folks, so that you don't have to. With great power comes great responsibility. Victoria, okay, let's give you some latest numbers. Vic, you stay with me for a minute. At YYZ, Toronto Pearson, 5 straight hours of heavy snow. You've been seeing similar band of snow just a little bit to the east where Vic is. Visibility, 400 meters or less in some places. We are only about 10 to 15 kilometers, Victoria, below blizzard criteria. Vic, does it feel like a blizzard? I know we're just shy of blizzard criteria, but with that wind whipping it around, you've covered a ton of snowstorms out in the field for us. How does this one, where you are, stack up to that feeling of blizzard criteria? Because looking at a lot of the webcams, it looks pretty dicey when it comes to visibility.
Compared to previous ones that I've covered is the fact that those winds are really, really strong. They are really gusty. As soon as you get a big gust of wind, you feel that wind chill. Very unsafe conditions to be outside. We have those snowfall warnings in place for a reason. And compared to other storms I've been to, I would say the temperature is a really key factor, but the temperature is also contributing to the type of snow too, right, Sophia? The snow is light, fluffy, powdery, and easy to blow. Not just blowing around on the roads, but here in the city of Toronto, they're blowing off the buildings. So it is feeling a little bit extra blizzard-like here in the city due to the snow above on those buildings.
Technical terminology there, extra blizzard-like. Okay, I want to talk to Vic. I want her to actually just show us something real first before we go and show you what the CN Tower looks like. It's also not great to walk on. Now, this is important, Vic, because folks at home are going to be shoveling this snow. It is going to blow around and look like they haven't shoveled it just a few minutes after they shovel it. But Vic demonstrated sort of for us earlier how slippery it is underneath, right? The temperature is frigid. What is on the ground is going to become crystallized. Those dendrites are going to become quite icy. What does it feel like to walk around in this? Hi, because you really, really need to be careful shoveling.
You can see the folks behind me. They are tiptoeing, trying not to fall. It's slippery out there, right?
Out here for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stay safe out there. Yeah, people, they are tiptoeing through the sidewalks of the city of Toronto. And you know what? If you notice, the sidewalks aren't necessarily completely plowed everywhere. This is right outside Scotiabank Arena, where we're about to have a mass amount of people exit the arena, and the plows, or the sidewalks, I should say rather, are still covered in snow. So very slippery conditions out here. We're starting to see the Leafs fans come up behind me. There they are.
I need an update on the game, folks. I have all the updates on all the closures and cancellations and collisions here, but nothing worse than if the Leafs lose and you walk out to blizzard-like conditions, right, folks? I want to show you what the CN Tower looks like. Our monument, always visible, always an icon. Mother Nature has different things to say about that. This time around, folks, this is what limited, reduced visibility and whiteout conditions looks like. Thank you to EarthCam for this vantage point of our CN Tower covered behind this mammoth snow event. And it is not just a mammoth snow event. If you are tuning into this live stream just now, you know, because we've been talking to our Dylan Kakuta, who I'd like to bring back up in a minute, about the fact that there is this extra lake convergence, this extra lake effect band that is really targeting the area between Hamilton to Pickering, and it is really racking up some of these high snowfall rates and high snowfall amounts, which I want Dylan to talk about. But Dylan, I also then want to go into talking about the temperatures. But first, let's talk about snowfall rates. Let's talk about amounts, because it is happening as we speak.
Yeah, we'll jump over to the mounts actually first. Here's a look at our forecast. You can see across the eastern end of the Niagara Peninsula, 20 to 30 centimeters, 20 to 40 centimeters plus around the GTA, and then 15 to 25 centimeters through eastern Ontario along the St. Lawrence corridor.
Down near Hamilton.
We'll jump over to the radar right now. See where those heaviest bands are at the moment. Let's push it up to the current time. We'll start off across the Niagara Peninsula. There is some heavier snow pushing around that area, some darker blues across the east end over there. It's possible we could see those snowfall rates approaching 2 centimeters an hour. Then there's also another band that's impacting the GTA around Toronto. Zoom in a little bit more on this one. Draw it in where the heaviest snow is from about Oshawa extending up to the 407 and then pushing all the way to maybe that east end of Brampton. That's where that heaviest band of snow is over here, where I've circled it in red. And it's not just the only lake effect snow band. There is another one over in Prince Edward County, extending now into Cobourg and Brighton. You can see some darker blues appearing on the map. So maybe areas just on the south end of Kingston, south of Belleville, extending through to Cobourg, across Wellington, Prince Edward County. That's where you have some of that heavier snow pushing through with that lake effect snow band. And then there's also another one north of the lakes. This is more just general snowfall associated with this system. You can see some darker blues around the Lake Simcoe area. Draw it in for you here. So all the way from Stayner, areas around the Kawartha the Lakes region down to Sutton, including parts of Georgina. Now this band, it's on the move, so areas around Springwater Township, it's possible we could see those snowfall rates starting to pick up also around Orillia over the next little hour or so as this little band just shifts further north. I'm not expecting anything too heavy, maybe 2, maybe even 3 centimeters an hour. But the winds, they will be blowing around across the region. Let's jump over to the wind map right now. You can see those winds gusting around that 40-50 kilometer an hour mark off the waters. It actually picks up as we head to around 7-8 p.m. Those winds will start to ramp up through the evening hours. You'll see some of those brighter greens appearing on the map, especially around those lakeshore areas, even pushing into Stony Creek and especially around the Toronto area. So if you're down by the lakeshore, that visibility will really take a hit right around that 7 to 9 p.m. time frame.
Okay. I want Dylan to pull up some temperature stuff because I want to talk about that in a minute. But folks, I really want to break down a few things Dylan said for context here. First of all, you know it is a bad news situation when you have a massive system that is setting up with additional lake effect bands of snow right along the 401 and QEW corridor, where some of the most highly populated areas of the country are experiencing a historic snowfall event that could overachieve. We are talking, if you are just tuning in, about the potential of some areas seeing 0.5 meter of snowfall out of this. That's 50 centimeters, not out of the question even before the heaviest snowfall rates came in. Some areas were already calculating upwards of 25 centimeters of snowfall. You've got 24 at downtown, Toronto Pearson, 18 centimeters. And we are not even through the thick of the heaviest snowfall, okay? The next thing I really want to pinpoint that Dylan said there is after the peak intensity snowfall time period, the winds are going to continue to ramp up. So you will have the drifting, you will have the blowing snow. It will be very hard to manage this light fluffy snow. We'll have Victoria show it to us in a little bit as well. But we need to talk about the story of the cold here, which I don't think we've talked about for a few minutes in this live stream coverage, because whatever snow you have on the ground is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh yeah, it's going to be sticking around with daytime highs around -10. Take a look at this for Monday afternoon. Toronto climbing to a toasty high of -9. Huntsville -13. You'll see a bit more sunshine over there. Still some cloud cover across southern Ontario. Jumping over to Tuesday, you'll notice those temperatures not budging. In fact, dropping. Toronto hitting a high of -10. And this is going to be the story for the remainder of the week, those cold temperatures. It's going to help the ice freeze across the Great Lakes as well. We saw some ice building up around the harbor front, the Toronto Islands, but I think this snowstorm is going to put a bit of a damper on that. We'll get a bit of a slushy later. So if you're hoping maybe to get some skates on the ice, I don't know if it's going to work out this season with all this heavy snow packing on top.
There's a couple levels to that too, right? As we get more ice coverage, it's going to slowly shut down that lake effect snow machine that, as we know, really revved up for areas in cottage country early in the season and especially last year as well. However, it's going to create an unstable ice surface for a lot of the snowmobilers trying to hit the trails. Let's look at a Toronto 7-day just for a minute for some context here. We've talked about the fact that this snow is not melting. I really want you to be prepared for what is coming in the days that we are cleaning up this system, because it is not often that we see daytime highs below -10 for multiple days. It is not often we see snow-covered roadways, 401 east of Whites Road. Look at that, folks. We are thankful and grateful that you have heeded our warnings to stay home. Non-essential travel is to be avoided if you absolutely have to get on the roadways. We heard from our storm hunter, who is tackling the roads for you so you do not have to, that a survival kit is essential, that you want to maintain that safe distance. Visibility is less than 400 meters in some places. Toronto Pearson, 5 straight hours of heavy snowfall. Yeah, let's go to Mark if he's ready right now. I want to talk to him about what he's experiencing in the drive, because boy, have things slowed down, it looks like. And then we'll head back to Dylan in a bit to look at some long range temperatures. Mark, are you there? Tell us about where you are headed.
Yes, I am. I'm actually just pulling into the parking lot here.
It looks like it's hard to pull into the parking lot.
I'm just trying to see where the road is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't actually see where the road is. Maybe this is not my best choice, but I wanted to sort of jump out and sort of give you an idea of how much snow is falling. You're looking right towards the 401 right now. I'm in the parking lot at the moment.
Do you want us to give you a minute, Mark, to get set up out of the car, and we'll come back to you in like 30 seconds? Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to Dylan
give
for
me a minute. No,
Folks,
you can come back to me.
You're watching live stream coverage here at the Weather Network. This is exactly what our wall-to-wall coverage is like here in our newsroom. As live updates are being fed to me, I'm feeding them to you. Dylan's in the forecast center. He's looking at all the most recent model data. As you saw, our storm tracker's out on the roads. Our videographer is out in the middle of the heart of Toronto watching the Leafs fans come out of the game and experiencing blizzard-like conditions. Dylan, we want to talk about long-range temperatures for a minute, because I really need to preface this with all of your expectations that once we're out of the woods with this system, we're good to go. Not so much.
Nope, that cold air is sticking right into the end of the week and into the weekend. Take a look at this. This is down in southwestern Ontario. Windsor, your 7-day. Those daytime highs really hovering around that -10-degree mark, -13 for a daytime high on Friday, and those overnight lows dipping into those -20s occasionally. And as we head into this colder stretch, you will notice there is much more sunshine as well. We start to see that high pressure being the key factor in that forecast. Jumping over to Toronto, here's your 7-day as well. Not much of a difference. Temperatures with daytime highs in around those minus double digits, overnight lows pushing closer to -20 occasionally, especially Wednesday night and Thursday night. So this means that the snow will stick around. You will get to enjoy it. So maybe if you're going to be busy for the next few days, just wait until next weekend, hit the slopes, enjoy some of that fresh powder.
Okay, the scope of the system is mammoth. We talked a little bit about the impact stateside. We have really talked about the impact in the GTA. Dylan, I want you to stick with me. I want to talk about southern Quebec. I want to talk about Atlantic Canada, because this is a different beast in all of these regions. And then after that, we're going to head back into Mark. But this is a bona fide snowstorm in southern Quebec. This merges in Atlantic Canada with another piece of low pressure and more moisture. Can we talk about the rest of the country for a minute? Because your turn will be Monday into Tuesday, especially as this system really puts it into slow gear in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, we'll see this system continue to track east. Take a look at the radar right now, and you'll see that snow beginning to already push into the eastern townships of Quebec. That high pressure over there putting up quite the fight, but it will end up losing as that moisture continues to pump to the northeast. Here's just a quick look at those snowfall totals across Quebec. You can see even up to a foot of snow, especially for those southern portions of the eastern townships. As you head north of the St. Lawrence, not talking so much. And then our attention turns over to Atlantic Canada. You see that high pressure pushing to the east, that snow already beginning through the overnight hours across Nova Scotia, some heavier bands across Yarmouth and Halifax. Then we'll just see some lighter activity across the afternoon and evening hours. We could see some heavier snow redevelop across southern portions of Nova Scotia Monday evening as another portion of that low starts to squeeze into the area. Then we'll see conditions improving as we head into Monday night across the Maritimes. But then it turns over to Newfoundland. That's when we start to see that front rolling in from the southwest, those heavier snow bands pushing in. Looks like Tuesday afternoon could be quite the doozy across Newfoundland, especially across the Avalon and areas south of Gander. St. Anthony, Springdale, and Corner Brook not looking as potent for you. Those snow bands a little bit on the lighter side with the heaviest through the Avalon.
Okay, a lot of questions came into our newsroom. Folks, you're watching live stream team coverage wall to wall here on the Weather Network. A lot of people, Dylan, wanted to ask, is it going to be a snow day tomorrow? Those of you in the southern shores of Nova Scotia, the closures and cancellations are likely as we have that high snowfall amount, and the timing really lines up for disastrous commutes all day Monday and then Tuesday into Newfoundland, with winds being an issue as well.
Yeah. The good news is actually with those winds, the strongest ones will remain just offshore. I'm just looking around if I have any wind products. I don't have any at the moment, but you'll notice that the low kind of sits just to the south of Nova Scotia. That means those strongest winds will likely remain right over the waters. You could still see some gusts approaching that 60, maybe even pushing that 70-kilometer-an-hour mark further inland. But that snow will definitely be heavy, especially across Newfoundland on Tuesday. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is something. But once again, the scale of the storm is a bit different compared to Ontario. The criteria needed for closures a bit different out on the East Coast.
No, you're right, but I also want to talk about the flavor of this system, right? The system has a bit of an overachieved flavor. It's definitely got that high snowfall rate potential. It definitely has that wind aspect as well. Maybe not so much when you're talking about the lake effect, which was the signature in Ontario, but what are some of the flavors that will carry this system through the rest of the country as well? Did I nail it on some of those?
Yeah, I think you did. And one of the things is that there will be a lot of cold air, which means that even though you see those snowfall totals pushing maybe 40 centimeters for parts of Nova Scotia, it's not going to be back-breaking work to shovel. Of course, it's still going to be quite heavy, but it's not going to be the same as those typical nor'easters rolling through with some heavy, wet snow dumping over those areas. So the good news is that that light, fluffy snow is going to be a common theme across Ontario, across Quebec, and also into the Atlantic.
Also, thank you, Dylan. We're going to go see Victoria now. Also a common theme of collisions, delays, cancellations. We've seen over 100 collisions just the past 24 hours, according to the OPP. 5 hours of straight heavy snow in Toronto, visibility less than 400 meters, multiple crashes. Some we also heard involving plow, tractor trailers, the cancellations and closures, and the human impact of this and the fallout is just starting to come in. Our Victoria fan Alvarado has been doing us all a great service and standing out there and feeling and experiencing this so that, folks, you don't have to. We've also talked about how hard it is to walk in this blowing and drifting snow. And a few kind souls, I hear, have stopped to talk to you, Vic. How kind.
Yes, this storm is a marathon, not a sprint. Let's just say that. And those who have flights, they are certainly feeling that, considering some flights now are canceled until at least Tuesday. I got to speak to someone who had a canceled flight themselves. How are you feeling about these cold conditions, and has it affected any of your commute or any of your activities today?
Yeah, I was supposed to fly back to Edmonton tonight. That's not happening. So we'll see. Probably extends the trip a little day. That's not too bad.
You're from Edmonton originally?
I'm from Ottawa, but then I moved to Edmonton for university, and I live there now.
So a storm like this in Toronto, how does it compare to a storm in Edmonton?
I'm tempted to say child's play, but last week we had like positive weather, so I've gotten like acclimated to that, and now I'm like struggling to just like survive out here.
Oh, we have some people walking by. How's your commute here?
Pretty long.
Yeah. How are you getting home?
I can let him drive.
Oh, yeah, okay. Smart idea.
Yeah.
Stay safe out there.
Thanks.
Got some funny Leafs fans out here.
We got to look at the bright side here, folks. It has been a tough one. At least that last gentleman from Edmonton was honest as well. But we are seeing hundreds of folks in the same boat as him. Over 500 cancellations at Toronto Pearson, cancellations at Billy Bishop, cancellations throughout parts of southern Quebec as well. And the wind is a huge factor in this. It's not just the falling snow. For everybody snuggled up at home watching our live stream, describe the wind to us as all these folks are coming in behind you from the Leafs game.
The wind is chilly out here. I am certainly feeling it, and I want to show you one of the key aspects to this storm. It is the blowing snow. I don't want to get snow in these people's faces. I'm sorry, but I'm going to throw some snow in the air, guys. All right. The snow just blows right in Dave, my cameraman's face right there. I'm so sorry about that, Dave. But the snow is blowing with the wind direction. That's why we are seeing all this reduced visibility on the roadways. But if you're walking across the streets of Toronto, like many of these people are behind me, they're also getting a face filled with snow due to just how, I just can't believe, Sophia, how much the snow is falling at such a fast rate. I really haven't seen something like this in quite some time. Even comparing to the storm maybe a week or two ago that we saw, this snowfall rate, I feel like it is much more rapid than what I've experienced all winter, in fact.
Over 5 hours of heavy snow falling in Toronto over the past little while. We're recording, 5 to 6 centimeters over the last hour or two alone. Vic, I'd be interested to hear how some folks plan to get home after the game. We're going to check in with you in a minute. I actually want to head to the live drive with Mark. And talk a little bit about how non-essential travel is to be avoided. We are talking about snow-covered roadways. Maybe we'll show you some webcams as well, because boy, have things been dicey on the roadways. Mark actually got out of the car for us, and we watched him pull into a parking lot that didn't look like a parking lot, did it? You couldn't really see where it started and where it ended.
No, I couldn't actually see where you were supposed to go, so I ended up going up and over a curb. That's okay, everything's fine. But yeah, once I got out though, I jumped out of the car and the snow was up to my knees in this parking lot. Definitely not plowed, but at the same time, you do have a lot of wind blowing through here, so you're getting some drifting in different areas, and that's what makes it difficult to sort of take a reading. So I can't really measure the snow here because it's been a lot of wind. You don't measure the snow in areas where you wind, because you might be measuring in the middle of a drift and thinking, oh my goodness, I've got 80 centimeters of snow, and it's no, you've got more like 10 to 15 centimeters. So I'm gonna see if I can find a place where we haven't had quite as much wind to sort of really measure that snow. But either way, the most interesting thing for me with this snow, and I've been hearing Victoria talk about it, is how fluffy it is. So like I can just wander through it. I can't even, I'm trying to kick it up there. I haven't got my gloves on, so I don't want to stick my hands in it if I don't have to, because it is very, very cold. And that is ensuring that this snow can get easily blown around. And if you've got that east wind, so the wind's coming east towards the west, if you're driving north-south on roads, you're going to get those winds coming across the road, which can give you really bad whiteout type conditions. So that's why you have to be very, very careful. If you're driving east-west, you're not going to be surprised. It's not going to change all that quickly. But it's that north-south, 427, parts of the 407, the 410, the 409, all of those areas are going to be that little touch trickier to actually drive because you're going north-south. The DVP, probably also going to be a bit of a surprise. You're not going to have quite the blowing snow that you get in some of the more rural areas, but still definitely going to be a tough drive anywhere if you are out and about. But I would suggest as the snowfall rates ramp up, let me drive around and show you how bad it is so that you don't have to. And I am going to jump back in the car before little bits of me freeze off.
As I said to Victoria earlier, with great power comes great responsibility. Folks, when Mark was talking about how fluffy and how light that snow is, right? We've got this cold level up in the upper levels of the atmosphere where those dendrites, those snowflake crystals, can't form that big, wet, fluffy type of snowflake. So it is this powdery light snow that is disastrous on the roadways. I want to take you to some recent updates now. Let's take this full, folks. Major snowstorm, as you know, blanketing all across southern Ontario. It will move into southern Quebec and into Atlantic Canada. OPP in the GTHA have responded to approximately 100 collisions in the past 24 hours. We want to talk to you as well and hear how you're experiencing this talk to us on social media as well, or go talk to our Victoria Fenn Alvarado down at Scotiabank Arena. She has another kind soul that has stopped to talk to her. Go ahead, Vic, you got this.
Yes. Yes, somebody has finally stopped to talk to me because, actually, funny enough, you're not from Toronto. Tell our viewers where you're from and what you're experiencing right now here.
Originally from Ituna, Saskatchewan, about an hour north of Regina, now living in Regina.
When did you get here?
Actually yesterday, so good thing I planned it for yesterday, made it in.
And did you have any delays with your flight yesterday to get here?
Other than de-icing, maybe half an hour. No, other than that, it was good.
Wow, eh? And so how does this experience compare to a Saskatchewan storm?
This is different, I will say. Like, I'm used to the snow and the cold, but it hits different out here.
And we were talking just off camera a little bit how we have the lake, right? And you're noticing the wind off of the lake is a lot different than in Saskatchewan, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. How long are you here till? Hopefully your flight doesn't get canceled. We have a lot of flight cancellations right now.
I saw that. I'm here till Friday, so should be good by then, hopefully.
Hopefully you'll be good by then. But how was the Leafs game? I have to also ask you that.
Sorry, Leafs fans, on bad luck. They lost.
Unfortunate. But I know you're a huge fan of the Weather Network, so I really appreciate you coming on our live stream today. Safe travels home and enjoy a Toronto snowstorm. Lot different here than in Saskatchewan, Saf.
Yeah, you know what, though? There is a universal nature to this weather, a significant impact that's happening right now. Folks, at home, if you're just joining us, live stream coverage here on the Weather Network, there is a universality to this system right now. It has been cold, frigid cold, all across the country for this past week. It will continue to be that way as the polar vortex is back in play and is the instigator in this mammoth snowstorm. Nobody is really spared from this active weather. You are seeing the cold in the prairies. You are going to see the nor'easter potential flavor to this system in Atlantic Canada. You are seeing the driving and heavy snow impacts right now with collisions racking up on the roadways in the GTA. This system will impact you in the nation's capital region for your Monday morning commute. Continuing in southern Quebec, Monday afternoon, let's get you some of the latest impacts. We've talked about over 500 delays and cancellations at Toronto Pearson. Multiple collisions coming in. Here's one just over the past hour. St. Clair Avenue East and Squires Avenue, a snow plow into a hydro pole. We have live wires. Folks, you need to give plows a ton of room. We are watching the snowfall rates accumulate at a very quick clip. 5 to 6 centimeters an hour. We are in the middle of the most intense part, the highest and most intense active part of these snowfall bands. Vic, are you there? Let's talk a little bit more. Oh, she's off talking to more folks. We'll go to Dylan in the Forecast Center. Folks, you are getting a taste of what it is like for us covering live active weather. I'm here in the newsroom getting all of the impact data fed to me. I'm giving it to you firsthand, so this is your one-stop shop. Dylan's in the Forecast Center looking at all the model data. We've got Victoria on the ground talking to you folks. They're leaving the Leafs game, and we've got Mark covering the live drive. Dylan, we need to go bigger picture here. We saw this coming a few days out. We knew the mammoth size of this system. It continues to overachieve. It brought paralyzing impacts to parts of the U.S. and continues to do so. And this is going to impact really a huge chunk of the Canadian population.
Oh yeah, it's quite the storm, extending all the way from the southern plains, sweeping across the Gulf states. Actually, let's take a look at all the alerts going on stateside at the moment. You can see a whole bunch of watches and warnings across the southern plains. We have extreme cold warnings for temperatures pushing maybe even as low as -20 for some areas, and then winter storm warnings across the northeast as that snow and freezing rain rolls through those areas. Now across Ontario, that's where we have all that snow with this. We're on that cold side of the system. You can see that warm front much further south across the Carolinas. Taking a bit of a dive, actually, that's thanks to those mountains pooling some of the cold air just ahead of it, putting up a bit of a fight, and then thunderstorms rolling across the Gulf states, pushing across Alabama, extending now closer toward Georgia. And now we'll jump back over to Ontario, see what's going on. We are seeing some heavier bands of snow pushing into southwestern Ontario. Let me bring up the latest radar scan. You'll notice some darker blues pushing into Essex, Chatham, Kent County, highlighted in the red marker, the handy marker. So this is another wave of some slightly heavier snow, nothing too crazy. We're talking maybe at most 2 centimeters an hour. And we will see this band of heavier snow tracking further to the northeast, so London, you will see this as well in the upcoming hours as it continues to push. Now jumping over to the Niagara Peninsula, I think the last of that heavier snow pushing across the east end of The Niagara Peninsula, that's on its way out. So you'll see conditions improving across Welland and Niagara Falls, then across the GTA Golden Horseshoe. We are starting to see that lake effect snow band extending a bit further to the west. I'll highlight the area that's being most impacted right now. So areas around Oshawa, if you're in Ajax, you're on the east side of the span, so you don't have to worry too much. Up to the 407 corridor, that's where that heaviest area is around Toronto, but it seems like we're starting to see a bit more snow developing now, pushing into Milton and areas just north of that 403 corridor, north of Oakville. We are starting to see those snowfall rates picking up, and now jumping over to Prince Edward County, that snow band still locked in place, but Kingston, just a heads up, you might see those snowfall rates starting to pick up. Here's a look at that band right now, and it is slowly shifting northward on radar. So Belleville, Kingston, Bath, Napanee, just a heads up. Could see some of those heavier bands of snow pushing into your area momentarily.
You know, it's a bad news situation when not only this band of snow adding this extra oomph, but also this system snow is lining up with the country's most populated region right along that 401, high impact areas. Okay, here's a question for you all at home, and Dylan, stay with me. Do you see the 409 in Kipling here? Because I sure don't. Your guess is as good as mine. Folks, this is what it is like driving in this system. Reduced visibility, less than 400 meters, less than 100 meters if you're looking at this shot right here. Non-essential travel is to be avoided. Okay, the headline here, are you sitting down for this? We talk about the historic nature of this snowstorm event. It is not just that it is targeting, you know, the majority of our population of our country and much of the states, but it's also the fact that the amounts are really overachieving. Not out of the question for some of you to have 50 centimeters of snow when this is all said and done. Dylan, we'll check back in with you in a minute. Let's go see what Vic is hearing and seeing as our eyes and ears on the ground. Victoria?
Yes. All right. Well, we do have some folks who have just finished the Leafs game. Yes. Brad, thanks for joining me here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
You're from Mississauga, you said.
We are.
How was your commute to the game today?
The GO trains were shut down because they're doing work on the lines, as you know. So one of my best friends was able to drive us down, and we're Canadians. Like, we deal with this. This is amazing. I love it. Like, how much more Canadian can you get than this? Hockey and a snowstorm. It's fantastic.
I think the only better thing would be is if you came out to a winning Leafs game,
yes,
right?
I agree, but we didn't get the result we wanted. It was a great game, but you have great Canadian players on the Colorado side. So, hey, go Team Canada in the Winter Olympics. Let's go.
There you go. I feel like we are already an Olympic sport here as Canadians, just walking through some of the snow. How is your commute? How are you commuting home? You said the train, so it should be pretty easy.
No, we're actually going to drive.
Oh, you are driving. Sorry, because the train had the delays. Okay,
yes,
so I'm just going to ask you, you have snow tires on this car that you were traveling in, correct?
Absolutely, and I have a professional driver. He's amazing. It's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brad, for chatting with me.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Stay safe, stay warm, and you stay safe and warm out there, too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
all right,
Victoria.
I'll send it back to you in the studio.
I have one more thing to add to that list. How much more Canadian can you get than snow, hockey, and the Weather Network? Brad, thank you for joining us.
You're
Victoria,
clear, Brad.
thank you for joining
Thanks,
us.
Brad.
Okay,
Thanks,
folks, let's talk
Victoria.
a little bit about this, because yes, this is a very Canadiana moment. This is the type of thing we talk about in elevators and at water coolers for months and months and months to come, but there is something a little bit bigger about this event, right? Dare I say it compares to the year 1999 when the Army was called in, the historic nature of this with the amount of snow that we could get. Our Victoria was talking about feeling that impact there. I want to talk to Dylan if he's up, or Mark, whoever is available, to have a little chat with me right now. We were at the Forecast Center. I want to talk a little bit about not only the wind chills, but also the winds. If you are commuting in this system, even after that peak intensity time ends around 8, 9 p.m., you are going to get winds ramping up and blowing and drifting snow. Again, commuting into the overnight period is going to be dicey, and you will have darkness to contend with as well.
Oh yeah, those winds actually continuing to increase over the next little while. Take a look at this map over here. See those wind gusts in most areas gusting around that 40, maybe pushing that 50-kilometer-an-hour mark through the late afternoon. But as we head maybe around 7, 8 p.m., you'll notice some brighter greens appearing on the map, especially along the areas just west of the escarpment. around the northern shores of Lake Ontario, around Cobourg, Oshawa, Markham, Toronto, that's when you start to see better chance of some 50+ kilometer-hour wind gusts, especially along the lake shore, then also extending to areas just west of the Niagara Peninsula. And it's not only until after midnight that those winds really drop down across the region. That's when those winds start to taper off, but still that blowing and drifting snow will continue to be a bit of a concern over the next few hours. Here's just a look at that. You can see even as that snow starts to taper off, those winds still continuing that easterly, northeasterly flow across the GTA.
Okay, before we go and see Mark, I want to talk a little bit wider. Let's look at Eastern Ontario, Southern Quebec, and Atlantic Canada. You are next on tap for this system. Before we go there with Dylan, I want to let you know about some of the recent impact information that I am getting up-to-the-minute updates on. Over 100 collisions reported by the OPP just in the last 24 hours. Multiple collisions, one involving a snowplow striking a gas line, Queen and Niagara Street, Toronto Fire with that information. Others as well, snowplow into a hydro pole, underscoring the fact that was at St. Clair East Avenue and Squires Avenue, underscoring the fact that we need to get emergency vehicles and this type of infrastructure, the space that is needed to keep things safe. This is going to impact not a commute on a weekday here in Southern Ontario. That is the saving grace, but it will impact a Monday morning commute in Eastern Ontario. Slightly less snowfall amounts though. It is a bona fide snowstorm in Southern Quebec, and then Monday into Tuesday in Atlantic Canada. Give us the timing now, Dylan.
All right, let's take a look at Eastern Ontario first. We'll see that snow continuing to push through the evening and overnight hours. Already by around midnight, we start to see those snowfall rates dropping off across Eastern Ontario, but you'll notice there is this small sliver just around Ottawa down to Cornwall that may continue to see some snowflakes flying around into the morning hours. But then as we push into maybe that late morning, it really starts to taper off. Still, there is the potential for some flurries even extending over onto the Quebec side. Now let's take a look at how things play out across Quebec with this system, drawing it back. So this evening, we're already starting to see that snow pushing into those eastern townships, Granby, Sherbrooke. Then for the most part, the heaviest snow will remain south of that St. Lawrence corridor. You'll notice all those darker blues really stateside. And that peak intensity right around midnight tonight, that's when we can see some of those heavier snowfall bands pushing through. And then already by those morning hours, that system departing over to Atlantic Canada, which means those skies clearing. So by the morning commute across Quebec, that snow won't be flying anymore, but those road crews probably working quite hard to clear those streets, especially with that snowfall pushing up to, I believe it was 30 centimeters. Let me just bring up the map once again for you. Yeah, 20 to 30 centimeters is possible. Areas southwest of Sherbrooke. As we push closer to Montreal, we're looking at 15 to 20. And as we jump over to the Atlantic regions, that's where it's going to be quite a doozy, especially across Nova Scotia, 20 to 40 centimeters over for you. And then for Tuesday, that's when the system jumps over to Newfoundland. Over in Newfoundland, St. John's, you might be just squeezing in 10 to 15, but north of that, up to 25 centimeters is on the way.
Whew, take a breath, folks. You are watching live stream coverage with our team, wall-to-wall team coverage here on the Weather Network. Dylan, thank you. I think we're going to go check in with Mark in just a minute. I want to talk a little bit about the delays and cancellations, and I just want to catch you up as well on the conversation that you are a part of here at home, or on the website, or on the app, or on YouTube right now, folks. This is exactly the type of conversation that we have in our newsroom in a high-impact event like this. We have our teams on the ground with our eyes and ears on the street. We have our storm hunter on the road talking about what it's like to be driving in these dangerous conditions if it can be avoided. We've got Dylan at the Forecast Center, and my team here in the newsroom is giving me up-to-the-minute information, like the upwards of 500 cancellations that we are seeing, over 100 delays just at Toronto Pearson. Billy Bishop's got delays as well, into Southern Quebec as well, and this is why, Mark, it is very difficult to see where you are going right now. This is why, folks, unless you have essential travel, it should be avoided.
Yeah, Seth, I mean, I've done this many times. So I'm pretty experienced with driving in the snow to try and bring our audience what it's like to be out here. And too bad you didn't come to me a little while ago. We actually had looks like a big accident in the eastbound lanes of the 401 eastbound express. It looks like somebody was in one of those smaller, plow type vehicles and got hit by an 18-wheeler. We're not quite sure what happened there, but definitely there was a problem back there. I don't know if it's been taken care of. But I couldn't stop, had to keep going. Almost full whiteout. I'm actually traveling south towards you. I'm actually down the 407 and I'm just heading south, and I am having a little bit trouble seeing where the road is. And I am extremely familiar with this road because this is how I come to the office, is right here. And it is very, very tricky to see. So I'm going to say right now, if you are driving anywhere near Milton, anywhere on the 407, 401 area, and that's like basically Oakville over to Milton, it is as bad as I've ever seen it on these roads. It's usually not quite like this. Oh, actually, you might be able to see. I'm going to see if I can sort of turn it a little bit. There go the plows. There they go, headed northbound on the 407 right there. It's taking care of the road. So my guess is that the plows are probably behind me, and they're going to be sort of coming along to try and get this cleared up. So.
Can we just say a huge shout out and a tip to the hat of all of the plow drivers, all of the emergency personnel that are out helping and providing service and aid on a day like today. And I also really want to bring this down into context. Mark, please stay with me. This is a 3-4 lane roadway you are on right now. I can only see one. Now imagine what it's like driving on a 1 or 2 lane roadway without a median in between, and how difficult that drive is. We are also talking about the fact that these dendrites, these snowflakes, are so light and fluffy, and as the temperature drops, things are going to get slick and slippery. Can you speak to some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been very slick, even on these cleared areas. I'm going to put giant quotes around when I say clear areas. It's so cold that you get a bit of compaction into ice. If it was warmer, you get you can get a little bit of melting and clearing just a little bit. Here, it's just not doing that. So there's a good side and a bad side to that. If you get closer to the 0 degrees, you get enough cars driving over top of it, and you actually compact it down into like actual ice, which can be kind of scary. But at the same time, a little bit of assault on there can handle that, can get rid of that fairly quickly once the plows go by. What we're talking about, and we're talking about these, I'm on my car right now, it says -12. It really is the kind of conditions that everything is slippery no matter where you are, but we're not getting that compaction of ice. So it's hard to say which is worse, whether you're a little bit closer to 0 or whether it's a little bit colder and you just get snow and not as much ice. Either way, just take it easy. And if you don't have to be on the road, just take it easy tonight. I'll be interested to see if we have school bus closures in parts of southern Ontario tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if this snow continues into the evening and into tomorrow morning.
Because look at what's happening, folks, right? We've got snow falling, plows are coming out and clearing it, and then we have wind drifting and blowing that snow, so it looks as if it has not even been cleared. It is going to be a while before the plows can really get ahead of this, and what we're going to need is the winds to ease. Mark, thank you. We will come back and join in with you in just a minute. We'll let Mark drive for just a minute. We want to head back with our wall-to-wall team coverage now. As you've been watching, you've seen our forecast center teams, you've seen me in the newsroom, you've seen Mark on the live drive, and we've had our Victoria Fen Alvarado on the streets being our eyes and our ears on what this feels like, what this snow is like to walk in, to slip on, and what people out are experiencing as they come out of the Leafs game. Vic, thank you so much for joining us. Some final words from you here before we let you go stay warm for a few minutes. Do you feel the historic impact of this? I think this is going to be one that you and I are talking about covering for many years from now.
Correct. I think that this is going to be something that I remember for quite some time. It is one of the most intense storms that I've been in the city of Toronto. The plow, you just saw it coming in behind me. They're trying so hard to keep up with these intense snowfall rates. But I can tell you, Sophia, I am cold now. I have been outside for many hours, and I am feeling the wind chill. You feel it immediately as soon as you step foot out the door, but if you're here outside for a prolonged period of time, this is where we can get those cold-related illnesses. So as bundled up as I am in my 10 layers, I'm still feeling the effects of this cold wind chill. So make sure you stay inside if you can and stay off the roads. We've seen plenty of cars slipping and sliding behind us. You can see behind us the roads as much as the plows are trying to stay on top of this snow and trying to clear those roads. The snow is going to continue falling for many more hours, and we need to give those plows time to clear off the roads effectively. So if you can stay off the road, I would highly recommend you do so, and maybe stay inside and just enjoy a warm cup of tea, sit by a fire, and hang out and watch some TV, because let me tell you, a warm bath is calling my name, Sophia, after today.
Well deserved. You've experienced blizzard feeling conditions. Nothing says Toronto traffic like gridlock and then near zero visibility and whiteout drives and wind chill. And Vic, thank you very much. Well deserved break in Bath. Look at this car over onto the side of the highway. This is 401 at Kennedy. Over 100 collisions in the past 24 hours. We've seen 5 to 6 centimeters coming down an hour in the city of Toronto. For example, some areas like Milton were at 25 centimeters at 2:30 in the afternoon today, even before the peak intensity snowfall came. We have a ton of questions coming in from our viewers. I want to bring in Dylan at the Forecast Center to help me answer some of these while we continue looking up all of the impact information here in our newsroom, where you are talking to me, Sophia Kambalia. This is our live stream coverage, wall-to-wall team coverage. Over 500 cancellations and delays at Toronto Pearson alone. Dylan, ton of individual location questions for you. Dylan, are you ready for this? Okay, we have some Nova Scotia questions we'll get to in just a minute. Let's focus on parts of Southern Ontario first, because you can probably talk to a few of these at the same time. I'll tell you 2 questions here. Folks in Oshawa are asking, why is it barely snowing? Is it going to pick up? We are expecting 20 to 40 centimeters. I think this has something to do with those unreliable lake effect snow bands. And then some folks in Stoney Creek and Hamilton also want to know about that late night snow band. Maybe you can touch on those too for these folks.
All right, well, start off in Oshawa, and you're right, it is about that lake effect snow band on radar. It's sometimes such a close call. We'll zoom in a little bit closer over here, and you'll notice those darker blues are remaining, it seems like in this case, just on the edge of Oshawa. So if you're especially on the north end, you will see much lighter snow. And sometimes on the edges of lake effect snow bands, you'll see some sinking air, and that causes those snowfall rates to kind of taper off, the heaviest in the middle of the band, but just on the top side, that's where you see some of that subsidence occurring, that air drying out, and that allows some clearer conditions to develop. So right now, that edge of the snow band there's the dark blue. And Oshawa, you're just on the top side of it, so it's possible those southern edges, seeing some of that heavier snow. But if you're especially north of Oshawa, you'll see those lighter blues showing up on radar, which means not a whole lot is going on. But if you're just west of Oshawa over in Ajax, that's where you're more so in the thick of it with this one, and even more so across downtown Toronto. Now, the next question, I believe, was around the Stoney Creek area. That's correct?
Yes, it is. Stoney Creek,
Right,
Hamilton, and that late night band of snow.
Jump over to Stoney Creek. So right now you're just dealing with general snow, not really impacted by that lake effect, but we will see a band of snow pushing in from the west. We'll see it over here. You can see that final kick of the system pushing across Indiana. That means that some of those heavier snowfall rates, maybe even 2 centimeters an hour, will push into Stoney Creek through the evening hours. We'll zoom in for you right now. Over on the west end of Lake Ontario. So around that 6 to 8 p.m. time frame, that's when we could see those snowfall rates approaching maybe 2 centimeters an hour. Then we should see that snow taper off after 8 p.m. But don't let your guard down, because that snow band will push further south as we head maybe closer to midnight. This could potentially impact Stoney Creek, but this is going to be moving. It's pushing south fairly quickly, so it's not going to be anything major around Stoney Creek, a fairly quick dusting of snow. Those winds still howling, though, 50 kilometers an hour off the water, so it's going to produce some blowing snow around the water. And there was one other area people were asking about around Leamington, I believe, in Windsor area. How's it going to play out there? I'll just show you real quick. So that snow picking up with that band pushing from the States. We should see some maybe 2 centimeter an hour snowfall rates through the evening hours, but already by 7 p.m. should be tapering off across the region, and by 8 p.m. I think it's safe to say that most areas across Essex, Chatham County, you're in the clear. You don't have to worry about that snow anymore.
Okay, we have some questions from Atlantic Canada, but first we have some bigger picture questions that I want to still focus in Southern Ontario for, and I'm going to tackle these, Dylan, and I want to have a conversation about it. Folks want to know, will snow crews have enough time to clean up before the morning drive? Now, there's a few layers to this, right? That peak intensity snowfall rates, yes, goes down into the overnight period, but then the winds are going to ramp up and it's going to be very difficult for roads to be free of snow. The plows are coming around and then the winds put this snow that's very light and fluffy because of all this cold air in the atmosphere right back on the roadways. So Dylan's going to touch on that, but I also just want to bring up this next question. We can talk about both at the same time, Dylan. A lot of people wanting to know, is this the worst winter storm for Toronto, or will this be one of the biggest snowfall events for Toronto of all time? And I'm going to hang my hat on the fact that yes, this is a historic event unfolding right now. Some areas now could be on tap for upwards of 50 centimeters of snowfall. That's a half a meter of snow in some of the most highly populated areas of the country. Closures, delays, and cancellations are likely on the eastern half of the country. Talk about the historic nature of this, and then you can talk a little bit about winds and move to Atlantic Canada if you want, Dylan. I can remind you of that if you want. You don't have to remember it all.
All right, yeah, well, it is quite a good snowstorm. It's not too often you see forecasts pushing that 40, even 50 centimeter mark, so that in itself is quite impressive. And it's not just the single event. We just saw the other week that big snowstorm rolling through Toronto as well. So back-to-back snowstorms. It doesn't get much better than this for a winter across Southern Ontario. So if you're a fan of the snow, this is as good as it gets for you. And now let's talk about those crews for the morning hours. Are you going to be able to catch up with clearing the roads? Well, across southwestern Ontario, no problem. You don't have to worry about that because that snow already ends fairly early through the evening hours. It's more of a concern across the GTA where that snow lingers a bit longer. But I think most crews will have maybe about 5 to 6 hours after the snow ends before that rush hour starts in the morning hours, because most areas starting to see that snow taper off already around 10 p.m. It's just that lingering snow band across the west end of the GTA, maybe around Oakville. And that's where those roads may remain a bit snowier into the overnight hours. And across eastern Ontario, well, you see that snow linger for a bit longer, but still, in general, most areas will see that snow taper off before midnight, which means crews will have about 5, maybe 6 hours to clear those roads.
Yeah, winds will still be a part of this picture and this flavor of this system as we head into Eastern Ontario for the Monday morning, but not like Southern Ontario. We were just 10 kilometers shy of blizzard criteria, folks. Do you know that? With the amount of snow in the time that it came down and the vicious winds for some, just shy of blizzard criteria though, but it's going to look and feel like you're in a blizzard and driving in a blizzard for some. We do have a signature snow amount for those of you in southern Quebec, and we had some questions from Nova Scotia, Dylan. Let's talk about the folks there, because the amount of snow is stretched over the start of your work week, the start day of your work week, and this one is going to potentially lead, especially in the southern shores of Nova Scotia, to the delays and cancellations and closures.
Yeah, we're looking at potentially over 40 centimeters for some areas, especially across the southern shores of Nova Scotia. You can see around Halifax, 20 to 40, or north of Truro, we're talking 20 to 40 centimeters as well. So there's a lot rolling in with this system, some gusty winds as well. Let's bring up one of the forecast models and I can show you how things are going to play out with this system. Wrong map over there. Here we go.
Specifically the timing, I think those viewers in Nova Scotia wanted to know, Dylan.
Right. All right, let's break down the timing for you. So this evening, we're already seeing some of that precipitation pushing around Yarmouth. You'll see that cloud deck beginning to thicken as we push over to midnight. That's when we start to see some of those heavier bands pushing into the region just south of Halifax. So after midnight, we should start to see some heavier snow pushing around Halifax, Yarmouth. Then as we head into the morning hours, you'll notice that the snow starts to taper off a bit, becoming a little bit more sporadic across the region, but it still lingers for a good chunk of the day. I'll bring up another weather model just to show you better coverage through the area over here. So we see that high pressure moving out, and then throughout the overnight hours, that heavier snow across the region, and then another pulse of snow potentially developing late Monday afternoon into the evening hours across Nova Scotia as that low pressure system pushes a bit further north. You'll notice there is some rain well offshore, but this is an all snow event for those of you over on the land, and then pushing into Newfoundland for Tuesday.
Yeah, this system wasn't like it was for many in the crosshairs in the States, where it was a question of what type of precipitation we were going to get. This has really been an all snow event north of our Canadian borders, but it has been a heavy hitter. Let's go through amounts right across the board. Let's start in southern Ontario and go right to Atlantic Canada, because no matter where you are, this system is hitting a home run slam dunk when it comes to chart topping snow amounts. We're talking in excess of 40 to 50 centimeters for some in southern Ontario. That is going to really cause some havoc. And then in Atlantic Canada as well, upwards of 40. So Dylan, go through some of the amounts that we can expect out of this system and what we've seen already right across the eastern half of the country.
Well, over in the GTA around Milton, up to 30 centimeters reported as of 4 p.m. Slightly lesser amounts as you head further east. And then for those system totals, here's a look at those maps. You can see 20 to 40 around the GTA, pushing 15 to 25 centimeters across eastern Ontario through cottage country. Not as big of a storm, 5 to 10 centimeters over there. Niagara Peninsula, it's where you saw some of those heavier bands pushing through earlier in the day. Might be closing out this system with up to 30 centimeters of snow around Niagara Falls, Welland. And then as we jump over to Quebec, you can see it's also quite a good system, up to 30 centimeters through the southern portions right on the border with the States. Montreal, you're looking at 15 to 20 north of the St. Lawrence River. That's where those snowfall totals start to taper off a little bit. You just don't have that moisture pushing that far north. Then jumping over to the Atlantic regions, you can see general amounts 20 to 40 centimeters across Nova Scotia. Northern tiers of New Brunswick, 10 to 15 centimeters around Grand Falls and Campbellton. Prince Edward Island, you're looking at up to a foot of snow. And then jumping over to Newfoundland, this snow is pushing in for you on Tuesday. 15 centimeters potentially on the way for St. John's, and slightly higher as you head further north, all the way from Port aux Basques to St. Albans and Gander. You're looking anywhere from 15 to 25 centimeters. So right across the eastern half of the country, this storm is packing quite the punch.
Winter, folks, right? Mother Nature seasoned us and prepped us for this one, but this one is still chart topping in every name and face of the game here. If you're just tuning in, this is live stream coverage from our teams here at the Weather Network across all of our platforms, wall-to-wall coverage. I'm here in the newsroom. We're chatting with Dylan over in the forecast center. He's looking at all the latest models and forecast data. This is exactly what happens with our team coverage during a high-impact event. I am being fed all of the latest informations, watching the traffic cameras for you. We are watching hundreds of cancellations and delays across the eastern half of the country. We are also watching hundreds of collisions, over 100 collisions in the past 24 hours. Snowfall rates 5 to 6 centimeters an hour. Whiteout drives, snow-covered roads, reduced visibility, non-essential travel is recommended. And you folks at home are getting this conversation exactly when we are getting it, exactly when we are hearing the information here in our newsroom. I am then giving it to you. Okay, let's talk a little bit. Let's backtrack and do a little bit of a review, folks. We have another few minutes in this live stream with Dylan and I. Let's talk a little bit about what we've talked about, okay? And then we'll go into a few areas now next. We talked about the scope of this. We knew about this system a few days out. We knew this was going to be impactful. We knew that there were going to be tricky areas of travel. We knew this was going to be huge when it comes to impact 2/3 of the state's population. It's impacting half of our country's population right now as well, especially when you're talking about these high impact intense bands lining up across some of the biggest population centers in our country. We will be watching the closures, cancellations, and the fallout. We've also talked all about the timing for you. Dylan has listed that all across the eastern half of the country, who could be in the crosshairs and when, including what it's going to mean for your Monday morning in parts of Atlantic Canada. We've talked with Mark about the drive, snow-covered roads, leaving room for the plows, all the accidents that he's seeing, we're seeing on our traffic cameras, the low visibility and the snowfall rates. I want to talk a little bit about the cold now, Dylan, because even after this system passes, the cold is going to be with us for quite a while. It is going to make things difficult for the country's most vulnerable into the overnight period tonight and into tomorrow as well. It is going to mean dangerous wind chill values that really don't ease for the 7-day period across much of the eastern half of the country.
Those temperatures will be quite chilly. I mean, here's a look at the 7-day forecast for Windsor. You can see daytime highs in those minus double digits throughout the week and into next weekend, but you will notice a little bit more sunshine on the way with these cold temperatures. You get that ridge of high pressure, keeping those skies on the clear note, and those overnight lows pushing closer to -20, especially Wednesday night and Thursday night could be quite chilly across Toronto. But either way, you'll have to bundle up for the next little while as this cold pattern takes hold across the eastern half of the country.
Meteorologist Dylan Kakuta at the Forecast Center, I want to thank you for answering all of my questions and all the questions of the viewers at home. We have a few minutes left in this live stream. I'll let you keep pouring over your model data now. I want to talk to our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, who has done a full circle and come back to us outside of our studios. Mark, we have about 4 minutes left in this live stream. You and I need to talk about the historic signature to this storm and what you've experienced. You've driven all around southern Ontario for us in the past 2 hours.
Yeah, I was going to make you guess where I was, but I guess they told you. I was like, I'm right in the parking lot. Yeah, I know, I made it all the way through here. I keep breathing in snowflakes. It's actually kind of painful. Yeah, it's been quite the storm. I expected quite a bit of snow to come down, but I was definitely on the side of things of, we've dealt with something like this before. 10, 15 centimeters, not going to be too bad. I think it is a little bit of a surprise to me just how bad this one has been. I don't think it's going to hit that 75 centimeters that we did, many, many years ago with those 3 storms that basically buried Toronto, and the mayor called in the army, but it's definitely going to slow everything down. I think we got really lucky that this was a Sunday and not like a Tuesday or a Wednesday with this system. So hopefully they'll have it all cleaned up by the morning. I think a lot of the kids are going to be like, no, don't clean it up. I'll get a snow day. You might not have a snow day. We will see. But either way, that was a tough drive, especially as I came through Milton with almost full whiteout type conditions. And I did see at least a few crashes on my way out and about today. It hasn't been as bad as I expected. I thought I might see more. But so far, it's definitely been one that I'm going to remember.
Okay, Mark, I want just a really, really quick answer for this next one because I'm going to say bye to the folks at home too. But it's always more impactful to hear about how they should stay at home and how non-essential travel should be avoided from somebody who's actually experienced it. Quickly tell us why they should be staying at home. Tell the folks, Mark, tell the folks.
Simply because it's really hard to drive anywhere. It's stressful. It's difficult. Unless you have to be out there, just don't. At this point, don't worry about it. Just stay home because that was an unpleasant drive, very tough. Took me 2 hours to do what is normally a 45-minute drive.
Okay, Mark Robinson, our storm hunter, thank you very much for going out there and tackling the conditions. As always, a tip of the hat to you, my friend, so that the folks at home can stay home. Hopefully you have enjoyed this live stream coverage. I'm Sophia Kambalia. You have got a taste, folks, of what it is like for our teams here in our newsroom, our forecast center, our storm hunter, and of course our videographers, boots on the ground, experiencing and covering this type of inclement weather event. Some quick facts for you before we let you go. Over 100 collisions reported just in the past 24 hours. Snowfall rates still 5 to 6 centimeters an hour. We're still in the crosshairs of the peak high intensity snowfall rates for some of the most populated regions of the country. It is not out of the question for some areas to over exceed and see a ½ meter of snowfall. 50 centimeters is possible as some of the extra oomph from some lake convergence, some lake effect bands sets up, especially around the GTA 401 QEW corridor, Golden Horseshoe, Pickering to Hamilton as well, included in the crosshairs of some areas that are also having reduced visibility. I am Sophia Kambalia. We will continue talking about the scope, the population impacted, and the timing and the dynamics of this impactful system on all of our platforms. Thanks for being a part of the live conversation here with us. Remember, we've talked to you about the long-range forecast as well. The cold sticks with us for the long haul in the long-range forecast. Even after this system is said and done, please leave room for the plows. They will need time to take care of the blowing and the drifting snow that will be contributing to treacherous driving conditions even after the snow has stopped into the overnight period. Continue to monitor the forecast on your app and on your mobile phone as well, along with our website.